Hey gang, East Coast Lumberjack. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, be sure you do, and you can get the follow-up parts as they come out. So this is part 2 of the Kent Allen axe handle hang. So on the last one, I showed you a few tricks on how to make a handle on the bandsaw. We did the actual profile of the handle using a Hetherington pattern. And of course, we're using wood right from Kent's woodlot. So he's found 2 old vintage axes, and we're going to put handles in them for him. And I'm going to finish up the one so that we can actually get the whole way through it. So the last time I showed you how to get the wedge out, we found some pretty interesting pieces of wedge in the handle. And of course, now as you recall, we had some railway tracks on this one, because when you look down it, because of that, this is what happens when your wood splits around the block. So if you have your big bolt standing up, your big piece of wood, and you split down it, and the split travels around the outside of the block, this is what happens with your handle wood, okay? It's flat on this end, and then it's crooked on this end, or it's flat on this end, and then crooked on that end. So when you run it through the bandsaw this way, you have to hold it up off of the bandsaw table so that you get parallel lines on both sides, which is what we did. The only thing is, when we set it down this way now, because we have such a slope on the bandsaw table, we got to make sure that we bring our pattern in far enough that we miss the bark. So that's what we're doing now. So we'll get geared up. It'll just take 2 seconds. I'll knock the sides off of this, and then I'll make them octagonal by taking the corners off. Then we'll come back and finish it on the bench. One more thing I want to mention to you. I struggled for years with this, and it's a really good piece of advice from the East Coast Lumberjack. Making your kerf in the middle of the eye on your handle wood is tricky. Even on this bandsaw, if I cut both sides off, then go back and lay the handle on, for some reason it will not cut straight down this wood. I have no idea why. So what I do, the trick is, cut 4 inches in on one side, come right back up, do your kerf in the middle, go back over, and then take the whole other side off. That way all 3 cuts will line up perfect. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so if you look at it, I cut part way down this side, stopped and came back out, did my kerf cut, came back out, and now I'm going to cut the whole way down this side. See this? So now all 3 of those lines are parallel. Now you see we've got a little bit of bark right here on this corner, but as you know, we're going to cut this side up the same way, because of course we have a teardrop shaped eye, so that's not going to bother that bark. So let's just finish this off. Okay, so 5 minutes, that's not bad. So now we're going to put it in. We're going to let's bring it down a little bit so you can see what we're going to do here on the bench. So we're going to quickly finish this handle because ash works pretty quickly. I'm going to show you this right start to finish. Okay, so we've got a Hetherington pattern. We go to our trusty spoke shave, Lee Valley spoke shave, and it doesn't take very long. Bring that down. Now, you can see it's catching here a little bit, so the grain is flopping the other way on the back, and usually it does. Every now and then it'll flop a different way. I'm just going to round off the corners. Round off this corner out here. There. Go to the Sureform, Stanley Sureform, and all we're going to do now is take off the corners down here and make our palm swell nice and smooth. So we're rounding it all over, all the corners are being rounded. That's what gives the fawn foot a nice feel in your hand right there. I do my bevel. Now take the Nicholson. Just smooth out all those lines. Side's almost done. Like that. So all we're doing is just taking out any little ripples in it from the spoke shave and the Stanley Sureform. Making sure it's nice and smooth the whole length of the handle. So there, that's half it done. And ash works pretty quick, pretty easy. It's nice wood to work with. Should mention this week here, this is our busy week. So made the top 12 in the Canadian National Steel Finals. So we're going up to the Champions Trophy, which is the relay race where you do chainsaw, underhand chop, single buck, and then standing chop all in a row. It takes about, well, the world record time is under a minute. But old farts like me, it's about 2 minutes. So I've been training pretty hard, going to the gym, doing all I can. And again, at this stage of the game, it's not about winning. It's about saving face. It's about not finishing last. So that's the goal. 58 years old, I'm pretty glad to be going, in all honesty. I mean, and actually I have tremendous respect for Donald Lambert, who's been going the last few years with me, and we're the old farts, and he's 63. He didn't make the cut this year, but, you know, man, he's been going. He's over 60 years old. I'm 58, so it takes a lot to keep up with them young pups because they're so flipping young and strong and all kinds of wind, and it gets tougher as you get older. So let's finish this side here out. We get a grain going the opposite way here. So we're going to flip our spoke shave around. Same thing on the back. Okay. And we're going to do the sure form down here around the handle. Palm swell. Make that nice and smooth so it fits your hand. You want it to be really comfortable in your hand down here, so keep checking. Man, that's in there. Your hands will tell you a lot. Good as a second set of eyeballs there. So that's a nice feeling palm swell right there. Okay. Then of course we'll take the Nicholson and finish it up. You may be saying, Kitchener, how are you getting there, Cumberland? Well, my young fella's, oh, that's a nice handle. So my young fella's driving out with his truck and all the gear, all of his equipment, axes and saws. And when they mentioned it, I said, oh yeah, road trip, let's go. Then I got thinking about it. 58 years old, going to sit in the back end of a pickup truck, in the back seat, for 16 hours. I don't think so. So in order to be actually in fairly decent shape and be able to walk when I get there, I'm going to fly out. So I'm flying into Toronto. It's 2 hours from Fredericton, so it's not long. And then they'll pick me up, shuttle me to the, to the hotel, and I'll wait for the boys to arrive that are driving. Okay, so this is the end, and you can tell, see at the bottom here where our, this is where our little bit of bark was on, but of course it's shaped like this anyhow. And of course we know we've got plenty of, this is the eye, so we got plenty of wood here, okay, to fit the eye. So it's not going to hurt at all to clean that off. So now we're going to actually show you shaping this. Okay, so let's rock it down here again so we can all see. So put your rubber clamps on, your jaws on the vise, put your handle in here on its side, and then what we want to do is check out the profile. Okay, so this is the bottom. This is how the axe is going to be hung. This is the bottom of the axe. So I've got a little bit wider than I need and a little bit thicker than I need. So we all know that right here is where most of the wood has to come off to hang an axe handle. So I usually focus there the most initially, and smooth it right back in your hand. It should be a nice gradual transition from the handle right into your eye. So make sure it is. And we'll round off the back. Like that, and we'll check it. I still have a little bit too much wood at the front, so I'm just going to trim that off and round it out. Okay, so that's pretty much the shape of the eye on this side. Now what I want to do, I'll show you it. You don't want to go too far. Okay, so this is what it looks like now. We've got the profile, it's rounded at the back, and then it's gradually tapered off here to the front. But now I want to do the other side and make it the same. So we're going to flop it over in the vise so we can get at the other side, and then try to do the other side exactly the same, because when we slide the axe head on, we want the bit of the blade to be in line with the handle at the far end. So we'll round out the profile in the back. So I've rounded it off here in the back. Then I'm going to level it off here. Now my grains are coming this way, so I've got to run my spoke shape the opposite way. Okay, or it's going to gouge, which isn't a big deal if your spoke shave's nice and sharp. There. So I have to run it one way in the back and the other way on the front, just because of the way the grain is laying. And that was because, remember, we had to rock our wood was shaped the way it was. That's what's causing that. So a little bit more off the front, and you can see that last little bit of bark is gone. So there's no bark left here at all now. Okay, and I'm still a little bit fat, so I can take a little bit more off. On the cheek. Let's try that. Okay, we're still a little fat. That's all right. I'll just keep flopping it back and forth. So this is what we have now. You can see it's shaped the same the whole way around. Okay, but I know I'm still a little bit thick right up here. I'm still a little thick. This here is usually where you want to concentrate your effort, right along here. Because if you look at the shape of your axe, you can see it tapers out up front here, right there. Okay, and that's this part right here. So on most handles, when you're hanging them, that's typically where your wood comes off. So just put it back in the vise. A little bit more off here and off the cheek on this side. Now again, because we're starting to get a little bit closer, I'll likely smooth this out here right into the handle. So when the time comes to pop the head on, I'm not going to forget about that and have a real ugly transition or a rough transition there. A little bit more here. We're getting closer, but again, they're still a little bit too wide. Taking a little bit more off of there. It's a little bit of a pain because the grain's going in two different ways here, so that's all right. We know how to handle that. Smooth it out. Same thing on side. A little bit more off on the cheek. So all you do is just trim off the front of it here a little bit, and we'll have it. How's that? Close, very, very close. A little bit more on the back. There, try that. Okay, we're almost there. It's some snug, but I can see right now that I need to round my back just a little bit more, and then a little bit more off the front of the eye. Okay, the same thing on the other side, and then we're on. So. Smooth out this side of the eye, round it out, and that should be exactly where we want to be. Yep, right there, perfect. So you slide your axe head on. Now what you want to do is you want to check how your axe head, I'll do it this way. So what you want to do, you want to look down your bit and make sure the bit is perfectly in line and lines up right straight with this right here, the middle of your palm swell, and this one is perfect right now. Taking the same amount off to both sides. So all we're doing is we're going to tap it a little bit there, let the head slide down. We're almost to the end, but you can see here it's starting to curl a little bit. That's good because that means it's nice and tight. So all we're going to do is take this off one more time. This is good because it's only gone on and off once. It's a fairly standard eye. I've done a couple hundred. So you get the hang of it after a while. But what I should show you this. So let the axe tell you. So it's saying it's nice and snug here. On this side, you can see it's peeling a little bit here and a little bit here. Okay, so where all that dark is, that's what we want to take off with the spoke shave. It's telling us I'm rubbing here. It's too tight there. That's where it's rubbing. So all you need to do, we know it's nice and straight with the eye, with the palm swell of the axe. So we're just going to take off that dark stuff and make a nice smooth transition. And then we're going to use this because this time it should sit where it's going to sit forever. Round out that side, flip it over. This should be it for this side here. Same thing, use our spoke shave, make that a gradual transition. Same thing, go back to our Nicholson and then make that a nice smooth transition. Now because I know it sat so close to the top last time, you also want to take your sandpaper and then sand that transition from the axe head to the handle right there, because once you get the head on, you can't sand in there. It's too tight. So sand it now. Another little trick from the East Coast lumberjack. There. So all I have to do is finish the bottom end of that. So our axe head goes this way, and we're almost there now. So what we're going to do is tap the last little bit, leave a little bit proud. Okay. Okay, so we've got a little bit proud hang. It's hanging out just a little bit. Just a little wee bit of curl there. So all I do is take my X-Acto knife. And I'll just carve that off of there. Just go right in tight to that angle, corner. Take that off. So look how nice and snug it is the whole way around the bottom of that eye. Okay, nice and snug the whole way. And all we need to do now is wedge it. So if you've tapped any at all, sometimes you'll tap that when you're pounding that back and forth, in and out, it'll close up your gap. Little trick for East Coast Lumberjack, if your gap is closed up, just get your screwdriver, put it in here and let that, tap it in and widen that out again. Okay, so it's wide the whole way along. Then you can take your wedge. I want a little bit thinner. I don't have a whole lot of gap here in my axe head. So, another trick from the East Coast Lumberjack. If you don't have, you look here, you can see there's not a lot of wiggle room. It's pretty tight the whole way around. There's a little bit of room at the front, a little bit of room at the back. So I want a very narrow wedge the whole way along because I want it to sit down in there nice and tight. So, the wedge is wider than the eye, so I know I'm going to have lots of wood in there to fill the gap. And then all I'm going to do is start it in the kerf and tap it along. Okay, so this wedge here, you can see, is bent over, so it's not fitting in really well. So I'm going to break off that really thin part. I'm going to break it off. Okay, so I'm into tougher wood here. And that tougher wood will follow right along that kerf the whole way. See? It fits in now the whole way. And all we're going to do now is tap that along. So, if you watch here, and keep tapping back and forth the length of the wedge. Okay, now at some point your wedge will split like this, okay? Because this one's tightening up ahead of this, which is fine. Just keep tapping it along, okay? Because once you put the back in a little bit, it'll open that kerf and you'll get a little bit more of the front end. Okay, now it's breaking everywhere because it's nice and snug. Okay, so now all I'm going to do is run that through the bandsaw. There. Okay, so we've cut it off nice and snug. We've left a little bit proud. So now what I'll do is take my rasp and go around the top of it here, okay? And just round out. Don't hit your steel. Just round out the wood at the top so you don't have that sharp edge. That's all we're doing now is taking off that sharp edge along there, and you can see the difference it makes. Okay. And then you can also just go right straight across it, take out those bandsaw lines. Okay, we're almost there. Okay, I'll take my X-Acto knife and just clean that last little bit up. Okay. So, that's start to finish. That's start to finish on Kent Allen's old axe. It's an old farm axe. This is going to be a wall hanger. So now I'm just going to finish up the handle, make it look nice and pretty the whole way along, sand it down a little bit, and it's ready to go. So that's hanging an axe. That's what you'd call a boy's axe or a pole axe, start to finish. And we've put a unique handle from ash trees right on his property into his axes. So thanks a lot, Kent, for the opportunity to do this and film it and put it out there. And if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe. What's coming up next? I've got one more chain to do, and we're going to test once and for all what causes a chainsaw to cut in a circle. So, East Coast Lumberjack signing off.